Wednesday. It is our
Hi,
first,
everybody.
right? This is our first webinar Wednesday of 2020. Happy New
It
Year.
is, yes. Happy New Year.
Yes.
It is.
Welcome, everybody. How the heck you doing this fine day? I have to apologize to everybody right away. I have on the downside of a brutal man cold. I have just been sick as can be. Shannon, okay, the doorbell's ringing. Farley's going to go nuts. Fortunately, Shannon's downstairs. She's sick now, and she actually was whining yesterday, and she said it's a man cold as opposed to a regular cold. But just,
I do know what a man cold is, though.
Yeah, just felt like terrible. Oh, is it stuck? Do you hear the doorbell going? Can you hear it?
I can.
No.
I can.
Oh, good. Our doorbell in this new 2-year-old place, but every once in a while when people ring the doorbell, especially as it starts to get cold, it sticks. And I haven't been able to figure out how to make it not stick anymore. And so it'll keep going and going and going. Sorry, I'm doing a webinar. Just a second. You entertain the audience. I have to go for a second. Live webinars.
All right. Hey, friends. Oh, Andy's from Connecticut. Whereabouts, Andy? It's good to see everybody. So my definition of a man cold for Mr. Steve is my husband gets man colds, which put him out of commission. The whole house has to shut down. Life is over with a man cold. No offense to any of you men out there, but hope everybody had a great new year. We're really excited about today's webinar. The financial apps piece is going to be, first of all, it's a necessity, and I can't wait to share one that I actually started to use with you guys as well. So are you all, did you hear what I said about the man cold definition?
No, what was it?
I said, well, my definition of man cold might be very different than yours, but a man cold to me, my husband has one and the whole earth shuts down for him. Like he's so sick and he's such, and I'm like, come on.
I don't deny the fact. Well, that's how I felt. I went to the doctor and I said, I'm really sick. And he goes, you just have a cold. I said, you can't give me any drugs. He goes, no, it's just a cold.
Which is funny because you sound like we were worried about you. Liz and I were worried. We're like, my gosh, Steve works a lot.
Cold. Whatever the virus was in the cold, it affected my scalp. And it's like people with shingles, you know how your scalp gets, or the area of your body, all the nerves get absolutely inflamed and just enraged. That was my hair. And I laughed because I couldn't, I would say, my hair hurts. And my family laughs at me because my hair hurts. And I couldn't wear a hat. I couldn't lay down on a pillow because my scalp was so sore. It was not a pretty sight. So I didn't get any sleep. Because if you're not getting sleep, you can't get better. So that was the whole thing. At any rate, that is not what you folks are here for.
No, this is an exciting webinar, though.
And we are as for those of you who are regulars here on Webinar Wednesday, you notice that we are using Demio once again. We've decided to move over to Demio at least for the next 3 or 4 months. With all of the testing that I did over the break, I came to the determination that with what Demio offers today and what they're planning on offering in the not too distant future as far as some upgrades to their webinar platform, it's going to be the one that we're going to use for a while. So I'm going to be really looking forward to your feedback and having the experience. We've done a couple of specialized webinars for our Evernote group with it over the last couple of days as well. And we're pretty pleased with how it's performing. So it'll be interesting. At any rate, we'll be looking forward to your feedback as we go along. The one thing that it is missing, and they are adding, is the ability to, I'm pointing, like you can see what I'm pointing at on the screen, is there in the chat, there's no way to demark questions at this time. They showed me the beta version, and there's going to be a whole questions tab as well where you're going to be able to assign questions, which is going to make it far easier for April and I to find your questions as we go through the webinar, as we go through the content. But for today and until they add that, until they roll the feature out, if you ask a question and we don't get to that question, you might repeat the question for us because the chat is going to be very busy. For example, today we've already got 340 people on board. Once we get above 300 people, sometimes the chat gets so busy it's hard for us to stay on top of. So just giving you that as a caveat for now. As expected, this is a typical Webinar Wednesday. I pre-recorded the demo. We'll be rolling the video through. While the video is running through of the demo, financial apps. April and I will be in chat answering your questions. This is one of the cases of a webinar that it's going to be really, I think what I'm going to get from you is probably going to be more valuable than what you get from me, because there's no way one person can look at all of these different financial apps and really know how good they are, because of the apps that you really have to dive in, roll up your sleeves and use. So hearing which ones you use and which ones are resonating for you and how you're using them in the chat is going to be really helpful for us. And indeed, we might end up doing some videos for the YouTube channel as a result of the feedback that we get. I got to tell you, financial apps are not my favorite thing on the planet. The whole idea of money and me we're not the best of friends, but it's something that I think is highly needed. So it'll be interesting to see what you folks say as we go along. So please make sure you oh, isn't it interesting? The first one, Patricia says, what do you think of, I don't know how they say it. Do you say YNAB or YNAB, which is you need a budget, is the app. And I hadn't heard of it much before I started on this, doing the research for this particular webinar. And it's one that rose to the top for me. What do you think of it, Patricia? I liked it. Now, here's one other caveat. We've got people from all over the world on the webinar today. Some of these tools only work in certain geographies. Most of them work in the USA, some work but less work in Canada, UK, Australia. There's some that do work in all of those locations, but some of them are only regional. So you will have a little bit of frustration in that issue. As a matter of fact, I had April test out one of the apps, which I thought looked like a real great contender, but I couldn't use it in Canada. So we'll be filling you in on those things as we go along as well. There's
Steve, somebody had a great idea. So because the way the chat is, to maybe put a Q in front of your question to help me identify it in the chat, that would be great if you can. Just it might help me make sure I did not miss anything. Thanks, Richard, for the idea.
That's a good idea. That's a great idea as far as that goes. And we're up to 350 people still coming in the room. The stream looks like it's holding pretty well. Good. Well.
All right. Let's do it. Save some money.
Just as an administrative detail, if you run out of time, if you have internet issues, if you have to run away for any reason, like because the doorbell rings, then we'll be sending out a replay. The replay will go out tomorrow morning. The full replay will go tomorrow morning with an email with all of the resources and all of the links from there's quite a few products that we go through. So all of those links will be included in the replay. Heads up, next week, we're going to be staying on productivity or going into productivity space. We've got two special guests. My old friends Mike Vardy and Eric Fisher are going to be joining us for a bit of a productivity roundtable. So next week's webinar is going to be great. So keep your eye open for that. You can register when we send out the email tomorrow. We'll be opening up the registration for that. So that should be a really good webinar next week as well. And then the following week, I will worry about that later. How about if we dive in and take a look at the video? So April, you know you have to shut down your audio and video when we launch the video here. Just reminding you. Okay. Right. We will see you guys on the other side of my look at financial apps. It's time for us to take a look at some financial apps. So once again, I got to apologize for my voice. I'm just on the finishing off a pretty bad cold that's kind of had me on the sidelines for the last couple of weeks. So I'm a little hoarser than normal. But let's see if we can get through this without too much difficulty. Now, I want to focus kind of on three basic areas for financial apps. And I think this is a great time of year, at the beginning of the year, to look at how we track and understand our money. A lot of us make different New Year's resolutions, health-related and fitness-related. Often we make productivity resolutions. But this is kind of especially for those of you that are making a little bit more of a financial commitment this year, to getting a little bit more in control, maybe saving your money a little bit more. But for me, I think many of us, with so much happening in the online space, with having so many subscriptions and so many different online services that we use, I'm going to kind of focus on that aspect of getting control of our financial lives for part of it today, because I think that's one kind of low-hanging fruit area that we could probably save a lot of money. So we're going to look at accounting, tracking, and management tools. And we'll do it from both a personal and business perspective, but emphasis mainly on the personal. We'll touch very lightly on the business side. Now, on the personal financial tool side, doing a search, you'll find, I don't know, probably dozens of good tools. I'm going to focus on a few of these and just kind of talk about how we make a decision of what tool may work for us. And the tools that kind of rise to the top for me are Mint, which is an Intuit product, the Zoho Personal Financial Tracker, which is a free product from Zoho. It's part of the Zoho suite. YNAB, which stands for You Need a Budget, which is a tool that I didn't know about much before I started this, but really rose to the top of the heap for me. Quicken, which is the old standard that it all started with, one called Tiller Money and another called Clarity. Now, each of these has a little bit of a different take on how you manage your and control your personal finances. There are pluses and minuses to each and every one, but I'm going to start with what I think is the biggest plus and minus right out of the gate. Some of these are free or mostly free, and other ones they charge you for. And I want you to really think long and hard whether at what you're paying if you use free financial software, because they have to make their money somehow. And typically speaking, when we use financial tracking tools, they're getting access to all of our really intimate information. And so I really question whether or not we want to use free services for that. I mean, I have that conversation myself. I'm not saying that you don't want to, but I want you to think about it long and hard. And we'll start with probably the most popular one, which is this one here, which is Intuit's Mint. Now, Mint started out as a standalone product. They got acquired by Intuit quite a while ago now, and it has become a really, really popular financial tool. And its biggest plus is, well, two. One is it's with a really reputable company being part of Intuit's family. But the second aspect being is that it is free. And typically speaking, when it's free, it's almost like games where there'll be in-app purchases, where they'll look at different opportunities within the app for you to spend money, such as switching credit cards over, which they would get a bounty for if they recognize that you are that you can get a slightly better deal with some different credit card company. Now, with all of these tools, you have to make a determination that you are going to link your bank accounts and your different credit card accounts to the app in order for them to work effectively. Now, if you do choose to do that, if you do choose to link your bank and credit card information, then they will automatically go through. And so much of the information that's in your bank and in your monthly statements is information that they can categorize for you. So right out of the gate, as soon as you do it, you will get a really good overview of how much money you're spending in a month and where that money is going, because it will recognize common purchases, groceries, automotive expenses, travel expenses. It will categorize all of those different expenses for you right away. And then you can take that and you can start to create budgets that you can work towards. And the real goal, I think, of any of these financial tools for all of us is gaining control and understanding of where our money goes. I mean, how often have you said to yourself, I just don't know where all the money that I make goes? And for most of us, there's a certain mystery to that it seems to evaporate very quickly. By tracking all of your spending through these apps, you will quickly and sometimes uncomfortably understand where your money is going and what's happening with it, and allowing you to set and state a budget. So it all kind of begins with a tool like Mint. Now, there is another free tool, which is, I think, fairly good competition for Mint, which is called Clarity Money. Now, I wasn't able to register for it to get on the inside with Clarity, but they've got some features that I really liked that I thought were really beneficial. Now, April's been able to do so we'll talk to her about it once we're through the pre-record, because she was able to sign up. But it, like Mint, is a free to the user service. Again, you have to sign up and you have to connect all of your accounts. Now, how they make their money is by recognizing where you spend your money, especially the subscriptions and the memberships that you have, and going in and negotiating you a better deal in some of those. So, now, this only works in the USA, so I wasn't able to test it out here in Canada. But for example, if you have a mobile phone account, they might be able to negotiate a better rate for you, knowing how much you spend on your bill, because they have because of the fact that they have many users using it, they know what the providers are charging, so they can sometimes negotiate a better rate because they know what the market will bear. If they do negotiate a better rate for you, they take a bounty on that. They take a 33% cut of your savings in the first year, which is a way for them to make money, and it's got a lot of appeal. So it's something to take a good hard look at. It'll be interesting to see what April says about it a little bit later. But this is the area that I really liked what I saw with this, because this was the topic. This was the idea that started this entire webinar Wednesday, was canceling of unwanted subscriptions. I think we have a real problem today, and that is that we sign up for so many online services that we lose track. And the way that they set up their billing, and in some cases, some of these companies actually make it difficult for us to find access to our account to cancel the account, to cancel the accounts if we're using them. So we're often using services that we really don't need. I mean, we all can think of having that gym membership when we never go to the gym. That's obviously a great example of this. But so often we've signed up for a graphics app or some sort of a tool for our online business that we don't end up using, and then we forget about, and it just kind of gets lost there in the background. And often we buy a 1-year subscription, so just once a year the bill comes through. You might miss it, and if you miss it, then you're paying for another full cycle. I think that any service that tracks your subscriptions is probably the best value that we can talk about today. And that's one of the things that Clarity will do. Now, when I was researching all of this, I went and I found several other dedicated tools that are for tracking spending, and I'll talk about them in a few moments. But now you know, I think, what are the big differences with a tool like Clarity. In the personal finance area, there was another app that really caught my attention, and that was this one. It's called YNAB, or You Need a Budget. And what I liked about this is this seemed to be an app that preached tough love, where there was no hidden agendas. It's just like, okay, this is how much money you have coming in, this is how much money you got going out, and this is what you should think about your money. And they've got lots of good training systems and kind of just good clarity moments that they bring you to understand what happens with money going in and money going out in the real world, kind of almost like being a parent. And it's a mature, not overly graphic and funny and spinny kind of way, but a really good way to view your financial situation and teach you to budget, which a lot of us have never learned. And there's no magic pill that they have. They do say that there's software plus method equals magic, but you do have to have the discipline, and they teach these 4 simple rules. I like this process. Now, this is a product that is not free. You pay for it. It's not very expensive, but I also like the fact that you're paying for the tool. I think that is personally, I prefer to pay for these sort of tools than have them for free and understand exactly how the manufacturer is making money, so we can understand our relationship with a little more certainty. So YNAB is going to be one of the ones that I would recommend you take a good hard look at if you're enrolling in embracing a new piece of financial software. Now, there's another one that you're going to have to take a look at, which I think is, again, a creative use, and that's called Tiller. Now, Tiller's difference is it uses spreadsheets. Now, a lot of us set up our budgets first in spreadsheets, and we have, going back in the day, we would set up Excel spreadsheets, etc. So a lot of us are comfortable with the spreadsheet metaphor for budgets, but we just don't have the wherewithal to program all of these elaborate spreadsheets. Tiller sort of has done that. They've taken Google Sheets and they've turned them into a full accounting system. So you can sign up for Tiller, and it does all of the transferring of information directly out of all of your accounts. And you can see all of the accounts that they have. They've got some 20,000 financial sources that you can import the information into these spreadsheets, which then gives you a little bit more manipulation. If you're a little bit more person that likes to roll up their sleeves and do a little bit of spreadsheet work, Tiller might be a great option for you to get your content, you get all of your data into it in a structured mode that you can then work with. Once again, Tiller is not a free product. It's not super expensive. It's $59 a year. You can try it free for 30 days. That's one that caught my attention because it used a tool that a lot of us are really comfortable with, a spreadsheet, because a lot of us will export our information from a financial tool into a spreadsheet so that we can massage it, look at the information differently. Here it it is in a spreadsheet right from the get-go. I think that's a really creative way of approaching it. Of course, old school is Quicken. I can remember showcasing Quicken back when I did my TV show, back before we really had the internet. Quicken was already there. We'd get discs and would plug them in, and you could start to budget your life. And in those days, we had to manually enter our bank statements, and then eventually we got to the point where we could modem into the bank to connect. But it has of course grown, and the beauty of Quicken is it is a known commodity. It's trusted. It's been around forever. They have a reasonable pricing structure, but they do charge for it, which I like. And they've got a variety of different levels that you can purchase depending on your needs and depending on your state in life. Starting from a basic starter, if you're just a student or you're just starting out, you're just in your first jobs, all the way to the home and business and the premier version. The home and business, if you have a mortgage that you have and you have investments that you're tracking, it gives you the ability to incorporate all of those in a really robust and proven system. Quicken it's one of the safe bets as far as having access to your financial information. Now, all of these apps have a mobile version, or most of them have a mobile version that allows you to access your information when you're on the road and also input additional information when you're traveling with your smartphone. But that gives you kind of an overview. The biggest decision is, do I want free and give away my information in return for the service, or do I want to pay for the service? That's number one. Then you can drill down and look at the metaphor. Do you want something that's going to really hold you accountable, like you need a budget, or do you want something that is nice and graphically pretty and kind of flashy, like a Mint? Or you look in old school. And so in that case, a tiller that goes into spreadsheets, or a Quicken, which is just kind of the old standard, from the old songbook, is a great way for you to go. So we will send you links to all of these along with my thoughts, but that is a quick overview of the personal tools to start. Now, let's take a second now and let's talk just briefly about small business accounting, because a lot of, especially Quicken, layers up into small business accounting if you choose. Now, before we start talking about small business accounting software, I'm going to have one caveat. If you have an accountant or a bookkeeper, talk to them about what the best tool is and what they like to work in, and see if you can work within that environment. They're going to give you far better advice than I'm able to give you, and it's going to make it a part of your system. Now, personally, for my business, I use a tool called Wave. We've got some videos on YouTube where we've talked about it, and the reason I first started with Wave was I wasn't looking for a really robust accounting solution, but I was looking for a good invoicing tool, and Wave offered free invoicing module that you could use, and then I grew into the rest of Wave. Now, Wave, unlike some of the other products, is completely cloud-based, but it bills only once you start using its payroll services, which means you're a much more mature business and you're doing your source deductions, etc. It's a Canadian product coming from Canada, but it works internationally, and I found that their online service is excellent. They're a very easy product for me to understand. That's a big key. If you're going to be, especially for small business people doing their accounting, it's important that you understand the tool that we're using, and the ease of use with Wave has been important. Now, one place I did spend money right away, even though I didn't use it for payroll right away, but I immediately bought an upgraded support plan, because being able to have access 24/7 to online support, even if it's just chat-based, to answer questions and make sure you don't make mistakes, is essential. And that, to me, is the number one feature that you should be looking for in small business accounting software. Is not the price and is not how pretty it is, but is how good is the online support and how much support can you get from the community. So as you go through and you look at the most popular ones, Wave certainly, but I know that the folks at Intuit have really upped the value, have upped the QuickBooks, have really upped the online support that's available to you from their consultants and from their online services to make QuickBooks that much easier to use. I've always found it, or that much more useful. I've always found it to be the most accounting-like of the tools that I looked at, and so I found it's not my favorite tool to use, but it certainly, again, is the granddaddy of the small business accounting software, been around forever, and they've worked very hard because they have been really poached from every side. Everybody goes after QuickBooks in order to try and knock them off the crown. There's a reason that they're trying to knock them off. They've been around for a long time. They do a great job. They're well worth looking at. And again, they have a variety of plans and pricing, starting as little as $6 a month. But whenever you're using a tool like this, really, I would say budget extra money for support to help you, especially in the first months that you're using the tool. Now, the other ones that really catch my imagination and catch my attention are FreshBooks. FreshBooks is a tool that is especially appealing to cloud-based businesses or online businesses. It just seems to work really well in that space. They, like the others, have mobile apps for doing things like receipt scanning and capturing other information. But FreshBooks has really carved out a nice niche for itself as an easy to use, and I think the term itself, FreshBooks, is a fresh approach to your accounting practices. As far as I can tell from using and playing with the tool, they've got a very similar user interface to Wave. Wave feels like it's got a little bit more upward mobility. It can kind of scale to a larger enterprise, whereas FreshBooks really feels to me like it's focused on small and just growing into medium business. But certainly people that know more about accounting would probably give you a better opinion than that, or give a better approach than that. But again, well known for their support, a good option. Now, once you've invested, once you've chosen a tool and you start down the path of actually setting it up, this is one of the areas that I say, go pick a tool and then don't look back. You start to use it and, take advantage of all of the features that it has, and then build your business around the capabilities of that tool as you move ahead. You're going to waste so much time if you try and migrate from one tool to another tool to another tool. So learn and kind of put all of your eggs in one basket when it comes to accounting. In a lot of areas of life, that's not great advice, but in setting up things like accounting software, like we do with our CRM software, once you've made the decision, go whole hog in. Learn that tool, get comfortable with that tool. It's an integral part of your business. So Wave, FreshBooks, Quicken, and of course, there's one called Xero, which it says here, I think it's seeing it just because I'm in Canada, it's recognizing, but it, like the others, has really carved out a nice niche in the cloud-based area of accounting and become very popular, especially with small businesses and online businesses. So that's my best advice as far as your accounting software. Your accounting software is not going to cost you a lot of money. Even if you buy a support package, it's not going to cost you a lot of money for what you get. Again, you'll get full integration with your bank accounts and your credit card accounts, etc. You can set it up for online payment systems, bill payment. You've got to have good, robust invoicing. You're going to look for all of those different features. All of the apps that I'm talking about do a very good job in all of those spaces. Now let's talk about a couple of the different specialty areas of financial tools for 2020. And I want to start that by talking about your expense and your receipt scanning tools. Now, some of us just do a very simple way of scanning in our receipts, which we capture them into Evernote and then forward them on to our accountant. That's a great way of doing things, but it's not really looking at these software tools. So there's a variety of different tools that allow you to scan in all of your receipts and bills and manage them for you. And they kind of fall into two gross categories. Some of the apps are dedicated to individual accounting packages. For example, Wave and FreshBooks both have smartphone apps that work and integrate directly with your account. Other tools, such as Expensify and Receipt Bank, will allow you to scan into their dedicated app and then integrate with a variety of different accounting systems. Now, here's probably the most popular one, and the most famous one of this is Expensify, which I haven't looked at in a little while. But when I came back to take a look at it, they kind of pissed me off, because they are one of those companies that has done this. I go to their site and look at what they are doing. Here's their site, and there's no way for me to go through and look at their features, look at their integrations, look at anything, unless I give them some connection information, unless I share my personal information with them. And I think that is just disingenuous. I'm not ready to commit to you following up with email or knowing who I am and looking for me. Give me the frickin' information easily accessible online. So I'm giving these guys a big X right away just because of the lack of trust that I have when they're trying to get this information. I'm sure there's a good business reason and they probably make more profit as a result, but does it piss you off the way it pisses me off? It pisses me off. So let's take a look at a much smaller but far more transparent company, which is Receipt Bank. They come out of the UK, but they do all of the same things as Expensify. They allow you to track your receipts, bills, and invoices. They recognize that I'm on the Canadian site, so they'll only give me the features that they make available here in Canada. But it's a nice app that loads onto our smartphone, and you can see here that you can just use it to snap a picture of any receipt, and then it securely encrypts the information, and then it connects it to a variety of different services, such as Xero, QuickBooks, Sage, so it's able to connect that information into those accounting systems. So if you use a tool like Wave or FreshBooks, by all means, use the app that comes along with it for the receipt scanning. But if not, you can still scan in all your receipts by using one of these other tools that integrates with the other accounting systems. So a little bit of research there is going to save you a lot of time as far as your receipt scanning. Now, the final thing that I want to talk about today is this idea of managing your subscriptions, which was the beginning of this entire journey that we are on. Now, these subscription tracking tools, I got very excited about the ability for us to all save a little bit of money this year, and that was the genesis of this webinar, thinking, wow, we can really share with our community something that will save everybody some money by getting control of their subscriptions. They're online, and they're different places that they're spending money on a monthly basis that they may not have to. But then as I began to look at the tools, the hackles in the back of my neck started to rise up and my spidey senses started to fire off with how much information we have to share in order to have somebody help us track all of these. So I'm going to show you this entire section with the caveat of I don't feel 1,000% comfortable with taking my bank account information that I maybe have already connected to a Quicken or QuickBooks or a FreshBooks or something like that, and then connecting it to yet another online service in order to track my bills. Because there's two ways that these subscription trackers work. I'll share these articles with you. But the two ways that they work is, one way is we connect our bank and credit card accounts through the service, and I've set up mine to do it that way. I'm using one called Trim to do it that way right here. And let me log in while we're doing that. Is you set those up, and it will then scan through all of your items that you've purchased, and it will look for things that look like subscriptions, and then it will collect them here into this subscription monitoring area. So here it's gone through, and I've added a few myself, and because it'll only find a certain percentage. But the more accounts that you add, and I've just put in my basic credit card and my bank account and my PayPal account. So it's now finding the things that I spend money on a regular basis. And I can look through that, and then I can make a determination of, that's something I'm not using. I could probably stop using that. But I am concerned that I don't know as much about the companies that I'm dealing with. They're more fringe player companies. I don't know where they're going to be sold. There's a variety of different ways that they charge for the service upfront, which of course I'm very comfortable with, but they also do the kind of the thing that they were talking about with Clarity, where they will try and help you save money by renegotiating different bills or promoting different products for you as well. And that I just don't feel 1,000% comfortable with that entire process. So that's one way that they collect all of the information you need to track your subscriptions. The other way that that some of these different tools do, and they aren't quite as effective, but they work much the same way as TripIt works, where it's remember TripIt? We showed TripIt. Travel app. I think SubscriptMe is one that it'll actually scan through your email inbox for the receipts from your different subscriptions, and it will then create a list of your subscriptions from that. From all reports I've heard, it's a lot less accurate, but it is a little bit more private as far as that's concerned. I think you're still giving up a lot of privacy by giving access to this kind of information to these companies. So it's with a caveat that I mentioned that. But knowing that, and knowing how valuable these services can be, as you evaluate your other mainstream tools, a tool like Clarity, all of a sudden says, well, it's only one place that I've shared my information, and if they can provide these same services, well, maybe I'm farther ahead by choosing a tool like that. So that's the criteria that I wanted you to think through. But knowing and just taking a step back and saying, wait a minute, I bet you I can save quite a bit of money on an annual basis by taking control of these subscriptions, especially the ones that we save money by buying annually but then don't use. I found a few myself that we've purchased for different projects that we've been working on here at Dottotech that I go, I don't need that anymore. And then finding my way in. And shame on some of those companies that they make it difficult for you to unsubscribe, but stay the course, find your way through, and unsubscribe from those, and then end up saving yourself a little bit of money. Finding a good partner financial app is a bit of it's a bit like online dating. You're gonna go through a lot of relationships that you don't necessarily feel comfortable with before you find the one that you're secure with and you can kind of form a long-term relationship with. But I think it's a worthwhile journey. I'll make sure to share all of these different links to all of these different sites with you in our follow-up email. Now let's get to the Q&A. I'm dying to hear which apps you guys love to use. There you go. I am back. Yeah, it happened to everybody. The pausing happened. But I didn't notice when I edited the video that there was that little pop-up video on whatever screen it was, and I thought it was on my computer here, and I went to click it, and that paused everybody's video. So that's user error on my side.
So funny story. It's 4:30, so my kids are home. So I sent everybody a text. I was like, "No streaming on the internet. I'm on Webinar Wednesday. Shut all the streaming apps off," because I thought it was me.
Yeah, no, that was definitely my fault. Great feedback. Hearing from lots of people how they're using things and all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, that was good, and nobody was too upset that I was all pissed off with Expensify. Everybody joined me in my
an angry elf.
What's that?
You were like an angry elf.
You know, I think it was because I was, well, I sounded terrible. I sound a lot better now, don't I? Do I sound better now?
You do. You do. Every day you're better, yeah. Yeah,
that was, I recorded this last night, and I was like, I'm ready for bed. Excuse me. So good, folks. So thanks. So we'll get to the questions here in a moment. Let's just let's deal with a couple of details right off the top. First of all, and we should have done this right off the beginning, a great big hello and thank you to all of our patrons here at Dottotech. Many of you are our supporters. This channel and all of the content that we deliver is brought to you through the generosity of the community at Patreon. So Dottotech is supported through that community. They provide us some financial support, and in return, we provide some extra perks, and we are able to continue providing this content. So a great big thank you to all of our patrons out there, and a extra special Happy New Year to you all. If you're interested in, if you find this valuable and you want to support these ongoing webinars, well, then I encourage you to drop by our Patreon page. April will drop the link, and there you can find out what's involved in the perks. We ask for $10 a month to support us, and in return, we give you half price for all of our online courses, including our newest course, Evernote Made Easy, which just dropped. But the biggest perk is you get access to each of these webinar replays. We allow you to come in hours, we pull the replay down, and they're all archived for the use of our patrons. So this is our 114th of these webinars. To give you an idea what's coming up next week, we've got Mike Vardy and Eric Fisher are joining me. They're kind of my old productivity. We used to do a productivity blab, a weekly on the old blab channel. I don't know if you guys remember that. But we used to do a regular productivity piece. So we're getting together and we're going to take a look back at the year that was and a look forward in the world of productivity. What apps, what tools, what trends are happening in the world of productivity, general productivity. So that's with Mike and Eric next week. Looking forward to that. They're good guys, and I'm able to tease the heck out of them because both of them are really under-equipped as far as the teasing side goes. The following week, what is a side hustle? Especially for my baby boomers out there, we're going to talk about how you reinvent yourself in the online space and what is a side hustle. How do we start making money online on the side, perhaps with an eye to reinventing ourselves at some point in the future? That's coming up in 2 weeks. What is a side hustle? And then the last one of this month, might be the one I'm really excited about this webinar. I'm going to invite you to, along with me, declare email bankruptcy. Have you heard this term, email bankruptcy? It's where you take all of that massively bloated inbox and you just say, be gone. And how do I do that effectively without losing everything? How do I get almost instantly to inbox zero and reduce stress in my life? It might sound like a fad diet. It is sort of a fad diet, but it's called Declaring Email Bankruptcy, and I am going to do it at the end of the month. April, you probably will join me, and we'll invite you folks.
You'd be horrified at my inbox. That's for sure.
Well, that's why you're going to declare email bankruptcy.
I can't even tell you how many are on there. I decided to do this when we did our declutter, and I started to do it, and then I don't know. It makes me nervous to get rid of all that email.
Yeah, well, and Andre's got the right idea. It's delete, but it's delete with purpose, and it's also being okay with what you're deleting and understanding and thinking through the whole process. So there's a little bit more to email bankruptcy than just taking your inbox and nuking it. But at the end of the day, it's a pretty satisfying and pretty horrifying moment. It's one that you do require community support in order to do it properly, I think. So that's coming up over the next few weeks in Webinar Wednesday. And once again, all of these are brought to you because of the great support that we have from our patrons. This webinar is being recorded, and of course we'll be sending you a replay out afterwards. I know people were asking occasionally during the through the chat. So how are we doing for time? We got 20 minutes. Ready for some Q&A? Are you able to pull the questions out? Because there's a lot of...
I am going all the way up to the top here.
Jay, I'm expecting you to be there. 65,000 unread emails. Jay might be our poster child for...
I don't think so.
Jim is not. So. Jim can take 3 weeks off. He has 36 emails in his inbox. Jim is my hero.
I think I might take the winner chicken dinner. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Marguerite has over 14,000. Can't we save the old email? Yes, you can save the old email. We don't have to absolutely delete it. Don't worry. Come to Webinar Wednesday. Don't hyperventilate. You will learn what it's not. Believe me, this isn't cutting off your nose to spite your face. Declaring email bankruptcy is not actually causing yourself harm in any way. It's reducing the amount of stress in your life and giving you control back over that inbox, so you can start again. So, and hopefully, though, you won't get back to the point that it just fills up again and next year we have to do it again. Although I do know people that do that. Look at this, we're getting nothing but people are posting how many email messages they have in their inbox. It's like we don't know them, so they're happy to share. Sean has 19,000 and Jean has 20,000. Email sucks. Oh, Doug, 89,721. Soon to be 722 when we send out the replay email, right, Doug? And Marvin, again, 18. Way to go, Marvin. Doesn't it feel good? It's liberating. It's just...
I feel like it would be very liberating, but I might feel a little naked because I have so many.
Yeah, but they don't do you any good. And you just we will deal. We're talking financial stuff today. And I need to ask you, April, because you became our guinea pig for testing out Clarity. And so tell me about Clarity. What do you think of it?
So I like Clarity. It has the mobile version and it has a desktop version. So you can actually, once you set up your account, you can log in into the desktop version, which is great. One of the things that I really liked about it was that it shows you, it basically shows you all your transactions, but then it also it gives you which was a little alarming, but I knew it was the holidays, how much spending I did on certain credit cards. So that was, I think when you see stuff like that, it's helpful to be like, okay, where do I need to start? It also, what I do like is when it pulls in the transactions, it recognizes subscription services. So literally you click on it, you go into it, and you can cancel it. And it will actually show you.
Yeah, and I liked that feature. And when I looked at the dedicated subscription managers that we were talking about, I was kind of thinking, I really like the way it integrates with Clarity. From what I saw from their demo, I thought it would be that does a couple of things for you. If you can sign up for a service like Clarity that will manage your subscriptions as well as your other things, you're exposing yourself far less companies having access to your information, and so you're just at less risk of any potential privacy or any sort of a hack that could happen as far as you losing your privacy or people gaining access to any of your information.
You are giving them a lot of information though, because you're logging into your credit cards, you're logging into everything. It was a ton, and to be honest with you, I'm not even done because I have business and I have personal, so I really wanted to use it for both and just kind of track my spending because we are on the minimalist program at my house here. And, I think that I thank you for having me try it because I love it. So basically it also, when you have something that's recurring, like a recurring transaction, you can set it up as a recurring. So it starts to help you to kind of see where your money's going. Like, we clearly eat out a lot, which was interesting, and I liked that. The other thing too is that it doesn't cost you anything for the app, but they do, like, they offer, you can get a loan or something like that to down spend. Right. And they also, it's a Marcus Goldman Sachs actually has is part of this app. So they have a savings. You can set up a quick savings account. So they encourage you even to put like pennies away and transfer. So like you can automatically set your bank to transfer into it's like, I don't know, to be honest, it's higher than I think my savings account we have. It's like 1.75 is the percentage on it. And you can do an instant transfer into a savings account. So it's helping you set up your budget, and then it's saying, okay, this is how much money you should save and things like that.
So it's fairly transparent how they make their money, as opposed to,
it is,
and they will renegotiate some of your bills. I'm going to put up a poll question right now. I'm just wondering, and I know that it might be, so if we're going to poll share now, is that it? Oh, wait a second, just a minute. Did I not get it? Just a minute. There it is. What would you prefer? Would you prefer to pay for your financial software, or would you prefer to have it free? And I've always preferred to pay for it because I want to know above board with these sorts of things exactly what our relationship is. And I see I'm in the majority. Good for that. So you're all very intelligent people as far as I'm concerned. But there is, you do worry when you get it for free. And the other thing about getting it for free is you wonder if the company is going to be around or if they're going to be sold and if the rules are going to change. And when we invest so much of our time and energy in setting up one of these systems, we want it to be around. So another reason I like paying for it is I like supporting the company to make sure that they're there at the end. This has always been my philosophy with Evernote. Why am I happy to pay for Evernote? Because I rely on it and I want it to be around, so I'm willing to do my part, if that makes sense. And so it looks like most people are willing to pay for it. But now I will say this as far as clarity is concerned, even though you're getting it for free, it is from a major company that you feel is going to be around, and you also understand the quid pro quo. You understand what they're getting versus what you're giving them, right?
Right. Somebody asked a question, how hard it's to withdraw money. So basically what it is you're attaching your regular checking accounts to, or, if you have a debit account, so you just literally transfer the savings out into the bank account. So it's similar to online banking feature.
Yeah, and Randall says it's never free, and you're right. And there's always that wonderful saying that is if what is it? If it's free, you're the product. I can't remember what the quote is. My brain is not as good as it should be right now. But yeah, there is no free lunch. There is absolutely no free lunch.
No, and I mean it's like I said, I'm test driving it, so I don't even have all my stuff in it because it's one of those things where it asks for, you can make it very efficient, but what if it goes down and I start depending on that? So those are always in the back of your mind, but.
Nathan says it well. If the product is free, it is not the product. You are. You are absolutely right. So let's see if we can get through a couple of the questions and see if I can answer some of them. A lot of them might be too detailed, but we will do our best.
All right. I'm going to go from the bottom up here. So Deborah is asking, best to track expenses. Oh, that's actually best to track expenses, including cloud, but export CSV files to a Mac version. Okay, so it's marked as.
So I don't know for sure. The one that I've used and quite like is Receipt Bank. But if it's kind of making a global decision. If you're getting into a business accounting package and you choose a tool like Wave or you choose FreshBooks, then their apps are the best because they will work that way. If not, you can certainly look at Expensify. I imagine it does those things, and Receipt Bank is your other option. But we aren't in a position to say what's best at this point because we haven't tested them all. We don't have criteria. We've just looked at and played with the tools to kind of open your eyes to what the capabilities are.
Has Mint ever resolved the duplicate credit card posting problems? That's
I have no idea.
Steve. Okay. Let's see. Sorry, bear with me, friends. Here, I'm just scrolling up. You talked about YNAB. Don't feel I got much information. Any basic information to know? So I can put a link in there to that.
Yeah, we'll put the link. But that one is one that many of the people on this call have endorsed a lot. YNAB, you need a budget. That they like it a lot, making sure that if it's available in your region, it would be certainly one that I would take a good hard look at if I was about to set up a personal financial package. So the ones that I would look at right away would be YNAB and Clarity. Those would be the two that I would look at closest. I was really intrigued by which one, the one that has the, I've lost the name now. The one that's the spreadsheet one, but that's just the geek in me liking the spreadsheet format. Yeah.
Sean is asking, is there an app cloud service that also tracks inventory management for small business?
No, well, there's lots. Each one of the different small business tools that we talked about has inventory modules. Like, for example, I know Wave does. I know QuickBooks has inventory modules. Yeah. By the time you're getting into that, you're getting into some pretty sophisticated stuff, though. So I would say at that point there, choosing one of those tools, but also looking at hiring somebody to help you integrate your business with those tools is a worthwhile process. Even if you're just buying the higher level of support package so you can ask questions, is worthwhile. I'm sure there are some dedicated inventory-only packages, but I would look for ones that are integrated with the overall accounting. So Sage would be another one that you could take a good hard look at, depending on the size of your business.
Have you looked at Countabout?
No, I've never heard of that one.
All right. Do you know if you can scan receipts with Quicken? Randy's asking.
No, Quicken doesn't do that as far as I know. Somebody can correct me, but that's always been one of the things I was kind of surprised that you couldn't do. But I haven't seen a way to integrate it. You could probably set it up using. I don't even know if they would parse out the information. That's something that's a good question. Maybe somebody in the community can answer, but as far as I know, no.
All right. Somebody mentioned they put them in Evernote down.
Yeah, I do that. You can save your receipts in Evernote. But the nice thing about saving them into when you scan them into a receipt bank, is it goes through and it pulls the information and it pulls
like a card scanner.
The tax out, and it pulls all those things out and puts them into the right categories in your accounting software, saving you a ton of entry.
Right. Clarity does have an iPhone, an Apple, Android, as well as web-based.
Yeah.
Let's see. What are your thoughts on Xero accounting?
Yes, I've heard very good things. It's another Canadian product, I think, and it's really well thought of. And it's like up there with Wave and FreshBooks as a great cloud-based tool that is more approachable than some of the more dedicated, more traditional packages.
All right. Let's see. Can you provide a link to the Quicken Canada pricing you showed? Can you put that in the replay?
When I go back and do a search for Quicken, it because I'm in Canada, it geo-launches the site. So you're going to have to go through. You're going to have to you could probably spoof it to think that you're in Canada, but that's all based on geolocation.
What are your thoughts on
Zoho? Australian. Thank you, Amani. Sorry.
Zoho.
Zoho has both personal financial tools and business and enterprise level tools. I haven't worked with them, but certainly if you are in the Zoho ecosystem, they would be a good choice to have at least a good solid look at before you make your final decision.
All right. Do you know how many apps integrate with Quicken? I would assume.
And I'm not.
A lot.
And I'm not sure what integration you're looking for in asking to integrate. Now, I can understand like the receipt scanning software integrating with a Sage accounting or something like that, but I'm not sure what you'd be looking for Quicken to integrate with. I mean, it's got to integrate with your bank account and your credit card account and your investment accounts if you're looking at the kind of the higher end ones, and your mortgage account. That's those sorts of things. But I'm not too sure what other integration we'd be looking for.
Do you know if Tiller is international?
I don't know for sure. That's one thing that's hard to tell because in any one geography, because I can launch it and it works here, but I'm not sure which other ones it works in.
Let's see.
So Robin's saying that they worked with Zero and it didn't work with the credit unions that they work with in the US. Yeah. Typically speaking, Canadian accounting packages work quite well with credit unions, because I think credit unions are a little more relevant here in Canada. But you're going to want to make sure that depending on what your financial institution's charter is, that they also are supported. Yeah.
Do you have any suggestions for a real estate agent for a financial app?
Okay, CM is saying, I'm in the Quicken pricing. I'm in Canada, so if you can provide a link to the pricing you showed, be grateful. Home and business for $59 is a great price. So just go to Quicken, just do a Google search. That's what I did. Let me just do it again. Quicken. Sorry, April, I'll just do this quickly. And when I click on the Quicken site, it has, now the home and business is at $89. I think I might have noticed last night that they said that it was on sale, and that it might have, I think I saw that it might have actually been I'm sorry to say this, but a sale that was like timing out, that it was like the last day of this New Year's sale. So it might have been that price that you saw on the video was expiring last night, if you can't find the price anywhere. Because when I do a search for it now and I look at it now, going to the exact same page that I went to before, it says it's $89. So it might have been just a sale price that was on last night. Sorry about that.
Do you know any of the financial apps that might actually be able to export to like a CSV file?
I think most of them do. I saw somebody post that they didn't think Wave did, but I know that I use Wave. I use Wave with my accountant, and they use, I think, Sage, and so they're able to export the data from mine into theirs somehow.
Quicken is too. Quicken you can export. Yep.
Yeah, and if you can't, if you think you can't, I would reach out to the support desk on each one. Yeah.
I'm not sure that you answered my question. Do you have any thoughts on a financial app for a realtor?
No, I have no opinion of what would be good for them.
Okay. Believe it or not, I think we actually have all the questions, but if I've missed one, friends, please feel free to put it in the bottom of the chat, because every time I scroll up, every time it starts to push it down when someone makes a question. So I want to make sure that
can't export Wave's transactions to Excel. And John, I'll have to ask you, did you reach out to Wave support? And what did they say? I would love to hear that. That'd be good.
Our friend Mike is saying Quicken Home and Business works well for realtors, Anna, if that helps you. Also, Home Lister is an online real estate in about half of the U.S. Akil is asking how to open a new email in our office, not Gmail.
How to open a new email for our office, not Gmail.
So like Office 365 is a good one.
The two that you could certainly look at Office 365, or you could look at Zoho. Zoho is a great, if you're starting out a new business, look at the Zoho Business Suite, because they've got everything that you need. They've got email just like Gmail. They've got accounting software. They've got inventory management. Zoho has a bewildering array of tools. And if I was starting out a business and just needing a lot of different online tools, Zoho would be a place that I would start.
Tony is asking if you've ever tried G Suite Bookkeeper.
Nope.
All right.
I think that can pretty much wrap it up.
Yep.
How about Wave?
Right.
Yeah, we talked about Wave. Yes, Rolando said just joined the webinar. We did talk about Wave. And I've done videos on it. Wave is the tool that I use, and I'm a big fan of it.
Rolando, you definitely want to catch the replay, because you can see what he talked about for Wave there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Zoho.
Zoho is how you spell it. So that's it. So keep your eyes open for your email. Next week, the productivity. We're going to be dealing productivity. Thank you so much for all of the feedback. You guys have been terrific, and we've helped April. I'm sure we're going to help April 2 ways this month. We're going to help her get on budget, and then at the end of the month, we're going to help her get rid of her email inbox. It's going to be awesome sauce.
I'm not sure. That's where my emails, where all those subscriptions are buried, I bet.
Yeah, it could well be. Listen, folks, thank you very much. It's great to be back. Thank you for humoring me with my cold. I'm sure next week my voice will be a lot a lot stronger, and hopefully my head will be a little bit clearer as well. We always appreciate it. And starting out the year 2020, it's great to get back with our Webinar Wednesday crowd. We appreciate you ever so much. So till next week, April, thank you.
Thank you.
Have fun storming the castle.